Hey, good day. Hi, this is Greg Lewis, City Manager here in Lebanon, New Hampshire. Welcome to Lebanon in Depth. Today we're going to do two segments, and both of them, I'm pleased to announce, are going to be regarding our police department and the activities of our police department. Our second segment, we're also going to cover on the contribution of some of our community sponsors to the efforts that we have in law enforcement. But my first guest, I want to welcome him here. It's our lieutenant, and it's Matt Isham.
Yes.
Am I pronouncing right, Matt? Matt's with us today, and we're gonna explore together, with his help, a crisis intervention training, the crisis intervention program in our city. And first, of course, Matt, I always say that I like my guests to share a little bit about their background and how they got from where they began until now they're entered into the field of law enforcement and now into the profession that you're doing and the particular role you're doing. So could you share a little bit about where you come from
Sure,
and how you got here?
I'd be happy to. I was born up in northern Vermont in St. Albans on the Canadian border. I went to college at Castleton State College, got a bachelor's degree in history and criminal justice. And then as I was getting out of school, I got really interested in law enforcement. So I started my career up at Franklin County Sheriff's Department in 1994. I worked up there in the jail on doing patrol on the road. I said, I had a friend in New Hampshire from college that said, come to New Hampshire, come to New Hampshire. Okay. So I got hired in Claremont in 1996. I worked down there, and I came up to Lebanon in 2003 with my canine. And I worked on the road. I retired him. I got promoted to corporal. In Claremont, I had done some prosecution. Here in Lebanon, the prosecution opened up. And so I stepped into that. I've been doing that since 2007.
Yeah, I wonder how many people really recognize that our police department, and you in particular, provide prosecutorial services with regards to particular kinds of things. Could you just say a few things about how that works?
Sure. New Hampshire is kind of a different state. It allows misdemeanor cases and below, so violations, misdemeanors, to be prosecuted by police officers. And you don't have to have a law degree. Majority of them we go to a training at the police standards and training 2 weeks, and then it's just on-the-job training, and you're doing everything a state's attorney would do without having a law degree. So you're learning under fire, and you're presenting evidence in front of the district court, DWI trials, domestic assaults. And then also doing family juvenile petitions and that type of.
Do you enjoy that kind of work?
I love it.
That's good.
That's good. Exciting.
Obviously, as a formerly practicing attorney, no longer practicing attorney, nothing better than being Perry Mason, because you always win your case. So, yeah. Do you always win your case, Matt?
We try and do our best.
Good. We really appreciate the work that Matt does down for us in the courts. And then today, Matt, we are going to look into our question about crisis management in our community, and in looking at crisis management, our program, we got a crisis intervention program, and we also have some training that's offered under that. So could you kind of fill in the blanks for the listening residents as to what that program's about? Sure,
and it actually comes right out of my prosecution role, because you notice in the courts that we have a lot of people that they're really probably aren't there because they're criminals. They're there because they have some type of mental illness that they weren't able to deal with, which brought them in contact with the police. Because, we're kind of the catch-all. We always end up, if someone has a problem, somebody can't get help, they call the police go there, and we're supposed to help them. And we only have so many tools. So as I'm seeing these people that have mental illnesses in the court system, I'm saying, what can we do to not put them in jail? Because it's not helping them when they're in jail.
Yeah.
So we started a mental health court, and out of the mental health court, I went to a training, and I learned all about this CIT, crisis intervention training, crisis intervention teams. And I'm like, what is this crisis intervention team? So in looking at that, crisis intervention team program is giving officers on the street that come in contact with people that are in mental illness crises every day, giving them specialized training to help them identify the person is suffering in crisis, has a mental illness, de-escalating them from their crisis, and then the third part of it is to divert them out of the criminal justice system if possible.
Yes.
To get them the treatment, are they off their medications? Do they need to get back into contact with their doctors to get back level again so they can then function as they were? So based on that's how I got back. Rochester Police Department, there's a sergeant there. He's kind of the guru of crisis intervention for the state. And I got in contact with him, and I was able to work with Dartmouth Hitchcock, West Central Behavioral Health, the New Hampshire Hospital. It's a community effort, and I was able to put a training together to get 10 of our officers certified in crisis intervention.
Oh, that's great. Now, because although I've been here to about 2 years and a couple months so far here, but over my lifetime, I have, I think I started out as a public defender, and part of it we had a contract in which we provided the defenses to mental health commitments. And there's been quite a bit of change in the mental health field over since I started in 1974. And there was a lot of state institutionalization going on, and then is now moved to a local delivery system. And
yes.
So and there have been some problems, I know, in my other experiences in other parts of the United States with providing services on the local level, because there's quite an influx of persons that no longer are now in our communities. In the past, have not necessarily been in the communities, and there seems to be a lot of benefit of the fact they're in our communities. To be a more productive, sustainable way of approaching people with mental health issues. But it does put quite a strain in terms of the need. And I've talked, and I'm gonna try to get the behavioral services folks from mental health in here too, because we provide some funding for them, and I know that they're having some difficulty sometimes in funding and meeting needs. So
That's a lot of it, some funding.
Yeah. So is it changed over this period of time? Is there more, or maybe it's more recognition? I don't know. Is it more people that have mental health issues, or more recognition of their mental health?
Since you mentioned that, in 1953, the New Hampshire Hospital had an average population of 2,750 people. That's how many beds they had. And today, they have a population on average of 145.
See, what a dramatic jump.
Because of all the lawsuits in the 70s and everything. It took people out of institutions, put them out in the community, which a lot of people should be in the community. Services should be provided locally. In 1990, New Hampshire was, the National Alliance of Mental Illness said New Hampshire was one of the top providers of mental health care in the community. Mm-hmm. And now, just in 2011, the Concord Monitor and the articles, right now mental health in New Hampshire is in crisis. A lot of it is budget, mm-hmm. because if you put more people in the community, you need to provide more, and they do the best they can. They provide as much as they can. But also, that's putting more people in the community, mm-hmm. who may not be adequately getting the services, mm-hmm. and therefore it brings the police involved. Because, as I said, we're the people that get called in the middle of the night when someone's in crisis.
Could you outline for us maybe how someone gets into our system, as an example, hypothetically, and then encounters, having particular experience themselves with their mental health issues, and they're into the criminal system, and then how does our crisis and intervention mode work to meet that situation?
Someone may be suffering from mental illness and just act out. They'll start breaking things. They'll start, and the family doesn't know what else to do. Can't calm them down. They may push their family members, mm-hmm. because they don't know. They think they don't know what else to do, and that's how they act out. Yeah. So then we get called as police. What this training does is it allows us to have coverage across all shifts, because these are patrol people. They're patrolmen, patrol women, mm-hmm. that are getting this training. We identify that, there might be a mental illness, mental health crisis here. We get one of these special training officers there. And with the training, like I said, they can identify it, and they can provide a more compassionate, more humane approach to dealing with this person, get them out of their crisis, and then figure out if they can help them. Do they need to go to the hospital to seek treatment, mm-hmm. rather than, yes. And that's how the whole training evolved. It's taking more time, mm-hmm. and it's about doing what's right, because the old, when I first started, you'd go to a call like that, you'd go in, and you'd be there, within 5-10 minutes, you've taken care of the problem, you've removed the problem, and you're gone.
Yeah.
This training says, wait, stop, take 10-15 minutes, talk to the person one-on-one, and try to find out, get them calm so you can deal with them. It doesn't, but in the big part of it, it doesn't mean they don't get arrested. It may not mean they don't get charged, but it may put them to a mental health provider first so they can get that services, and not just take them, put them in jail, and then the crisis just keeps going.
Just keeps going. Do we have any idea about the level of the workload for our officers as they're in the field, and then our training officers who come to provide assistance? What kind of workload we're encountering in terms of any kind of sense of, is this quite a few cases? Is it a lot of cases?
We deal with, I'd say every day someone's dealing with somebody who has a mental illness, one way or another.
So it's a daily matter.
Oh, it's an ongoing matter, absolutely. And it's just, but they're still doing their regular duties. It's just, their patrol out. They're doing what they're, tasked to do.
Yes.
But now, if we identify as a special situation, they then have the tools to go forward and to assist with that.
And in order to do this training, to understand the techniques and the proper procedures and practices, where do you go to get this kind of training?
We held the training right here in Lebanon. It's a 40-hour training. It consists of, as I said, all these agencies came in and helped teach. It's all the agencies all volunteered because they realize how important it is. Nobody was paid to come teach for us. But it teaches about mental illnesses, what they are, borderline personality, other disorders, substance abuse, suicide prevention, Alzheimer's, autism, the civil commitment process, de-escalation skills, and then at the end of the week, we actually have mental health professionals come in and be role players.
Okay.
And then the officers actively have to engage them and try to de-escalate them, and take care of whatever the issue may be.
Actually experience.
So it's hands-on. And if you don't complete 40 hours, then you're not certified as a crisis intervention.
Well, that's great. And you mentioned in our last couple of minutes, you mentioned trying to divert and going to diversionary approaches. So people just don't go into go right into the criminal system and that.
Right.
What kind of diversion programs, what are their options?
When I say divert, I mean as in, rather than go to jail, they go to Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center and get, which then they may be sent to Concord Hospital if they meet the criteria to be admitted there, or they may go in-house at Dartmouth Hitchcock. So it's not like a diversion program, it's more of diverting them from a criminal justice solution to a mental health solution and getting them to where they should be.
In our closing comments, are there some messages or some comments that you want to make sure that the public is aware of in dealing in your field?
Mostly just, we understand there's a problem, and we want to help, because that's what we're paid, that's what we're tasked to do. We help society. We're here to protect, to serve. But we don't, it's not a free ticket for everybody too. Just because you may have a mental illness, if you commit crimes, you still have to face those consequences. But we just try to do it in a more humane, compassionate way. And as I said before, it's doing the right thing for the right reason.
Thank you very much, Matt. We want to thank our lieutenant for being here. This is another illustration of our police department in providing the basic services of law enforcement in a modern 21st century community that's trying to be sustainable and to work and support those in our community and helping them achieve some sufficiency in terms of how they handle their lives. So once again, we show that we see the quality of the work of the police department, and we extend our thanks as a city manager. I always think highly and always thinking of our police officers each time they're going to responding, and not know quite what they're going to get into, and that they have this different equipment, not just the tools of law enforcement, actually the way the thinking is and how it might be approached. So we want to thank Matt for being here. We want to thank all the officers that engage and become certified for helping us look into how we better can serve those who have mental health issues in our community. Each of us probably know someone with a mental health issue. They are friends or relatives. They are are that are neighbors. So they are part of us, and so we want to be appreciative and try to find ways of serving them, as well as protecting the entire community. Thank you very much today.
I'd like to thank you, too.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Hey, welcome to our second part of our show today. As I said, we're on the police department, and today we're going to talk about the Canine Awareness Day, among several things. And we'll talk about getting involved in the community and supporting the community. I have two of my favorite people as my guests today. And the first one is our captain, Captain Tim Cohen. Thanks. And Tim, you're here because you're part of our involvement in our canine awareness.
Yep.
And then I'm also really pleased to have a person that I greatly enjoy and appreciate, and that's Kurt Jakes. And Kurt is with his beautiful company that he has, which is the West Lebanon Feed and Supply. And I'm a steady customer. I'm one of those satisfied customers, but I have 3 dogs and a Maine Coon cat now, and we find that we're always there. Every other week I have a bath for the 3 dogs at the Clean Paws, which is a dog wash. They also wash other things there too. The cats. They even said they wash guinea pigs, and I can't imagine what the washing a guinea pig would be like. But so it's a neat place, and so I'm real pleased because I got the people that I really enjoy being around with Tim and with Kurt today. Tim, how did you get connected with the canine as far as the law enforcement? How's that happen?
Well, as a little kid, I grew up in a small town, Cape May, New Jersey, and there was a police officer there that had a dog, and his dog's name was Kipper. And I always liked Kipper, and I'd always see him when he was out walking Kipper, and I always, as a little kid, was impressed with that. And years later, I found myself working in law enforcement, and that had stuck with me, and I really wanted to do a canine. And so I ended up purchasing my own dog at a department that I was at before I came to Lebanon. And I named the dog Kipper after that dog.
Cool. That's
and
very cool.
I worked him, and then I worked a female dog after that. Her name was Carmen, and so I had a good life.
Kipper and Carmen.
Kipper and Carmen, yes.
Good names.
Yeah,
good
they
names.
were cool.
I really like Kipper. I like Kipper.
Yeah, he was, and both did a great job for me. I really enjoyed doing that. Now I still get to work with our canine teams at the Lebanon Police Department. Yeah. So it's great. I'm kind of in the grandfather position now. I get to spoil the dogs and send them home.
Yeah, they don't have to worry about the relationship with the dogs and the continuity, right, and all meeting their needs and making sure they're performing, but also caring about them a lot.
We do.
I know how much handlers care about their
very true.
Their dogs. It's just fabulous. Kurt, it's really interesting to see a local business get involved in a program, and you've really been in your business very intimately involved. So could you describe how you got into this and where you're coming from, and now what's the journey been like for you in
Sure. Thank you for having me on here too, by the way, Greg.
Yeah.
I've been in this type of business for 35 years, and I used to work for a pet food manufacturer. And actually, one of my duties was calling on kennels, giving lectures on nutrition. And I used to belong to American Boarding Kennel Association and go to their meetings. Well, I started getting involved from New York State to New England. And we had one of our accounts at that time was the Connecticut State Police, which also has a very nationally recognized canine program. So that was really where my interest in law enforcement canine came, and working with the state of Vermont. We used to have a manufacturing plant, well, we still do, in Brandon, Vermont, which is near the training academy for Vermont, for the state police.
Yeah.
And that's also where Lebanon goes for their training for their canine. And they used to leave there, and they used to come down to our plant in Brandon and ask to use the warehouse to train their dogs for alternate training sites, and so we used to let them do that, and that's kind of was the beginning of my involvement with canine. 20 years ago, my wife and I left Western New York, near where you were, actually.
Yes,
And we came back to Lebanon, and we purchased the store down in Railroad Avenue, West Lebanon. And from there, we've just kind of exploded in our business. And we came about 10 years ago, working with Lebanon and supporting them wholeheartedly in a canine program, from helping to build the kennels that they have up behind the PD, as well as sponsoring the food and supplies for the dogs each month, and helping to coordinate the veterinary care that some of our local veterinarians have done. So that was one of the key interests that we had prior to. But I think, as in a lot of different businesses, if you're going to be supportive of your industry, you have to do things that are in your industry, but you also have to be good stewards of your community. And that was just one of the things that we wanted to do to maintain our presence and be able to give back, like all businesses really should.
That's really great. What have you found rewarding about this involvement from you and your wife's point of view in the stores?
Having that love of animals that we've always had. I grew up on a farm in northern Vermont, and it was rewarding to stay in the business because I love animals, but I also love people. I love dealing with people. Seeing the passion that people have in their animals. You know, I think about every other Saturday when actually you come down with Olive, your dog, and your bulldog, and seeing the regulars that come in, and it's not like you're in a different business where you see kids growing up, you see the dogs growing up, which in a lot of cases are like their own kids. So there's many customers I can remember when they're bringing their puppies in, and it might have been 10 years ago, and then following them through to sometimes, unfortunately, the end of life. They bring their dog in, and they say, or they come in and say, well, where's your dog? Oh, you know, I had to put the dog down. So you help nurture that, but I think just the love of animals, the fact that people in our type of business are just a different breed of people. They're much more laid back. Having animals, they're just so much more appreciative, I find. And we've just had a great time with our customers and with the business that we have. We just really enjoy the industry.
That's really nice, and I commend the store. I placed in writing my commendation of the store as a city manager of our community, and I really encourage other businesses in our community to join the businesses that are right now some key sponsors of community involvement. And you know, the West Lebanon Feed and Supply kind of model the way, and there's other businesses that likewise, and we just would encourage all businesses to do that. I begin my business tour. My annual business tour begins here in June, where I see a business a week, and I wanted to start April, but I just got distracted by some city business. Now I'm coming back to have my business tour, and I'll probably be touring my business a week for the remainder of the summer and into the fall. And in that, I'll always carry the messages of modeling of what we can do and what we can do to help you. You know, it's a real partnering thing. It's what we can do to help you as well as you help the public and the community. We need to give back to our local businesses.
And I think that's a good point, Greg. I think that's something a lot of businesses may not really realize, that being here in Lebanon, we do have the support of our local government. If we ever have an issue, it doesn't matter if it's the Public Works Department, if it's the Police Department, if it's zoning, you know, code enforcement. We have a great relationship with all the departments, but we respect what they do, and we respect their knowledge and them and able to help us. And we feel very comforted to know that we live in a community that it's not you against us. As we're all here to live together as a family, but as participants in this community. It's very rewarding as a business to have that.
That's nicely. I will mention as an aside that we begin our Economic Vitality Exchange the month of June, in which 7 business representatives, and along with 2 chamber representatives, will join 3 city council members and the president of the chamber and the director of the chamber and me as city manager and my planning and zoning director in monthly meetings to talk about economic vitality. It's basically a conversation that we're going to have on economic vitality, what it makes it work, what's holding it back, what can help, what can hurt, and have that group of people network and have conversation about what we can do better. Now, going back to our canine unit, Could you, Tim, could you describe our present canine unit, and then I would like us to go right into the Canine Dog Awareness Day event we're coming up to.
Sure.
Which by the time I see it, it's already passed, and but I want to let people know about this because this is an annualized event, and we'll continue to this event. But
Well,
tell us a little about the units.
We're real excited, of course, about the event too. We do it right at West Lebanon Feed and Supply on Railroad Avenue, and it's just an event that's grown each year, gotten better and better each year. So we really look forward to this time of year and look forward to having the opportunity to show the public what our teams do. Both of our teams will be there. We have one team that's John Tracy, and he's an officer with us, and his dog is Canine Cody. And we have Officer Jeremy Perkins, and his canine partner is Max. Now, Cody's a German Shepherd, Max is a Belgian Malinois, and you can really see the difference between the two dogs.
Yeah, there's certainly a difference between the two.
And even in their personalities. I mean, it's amazing how different each dog is, and we're very fortunate because both teams are extremely successful, have done very well through their trainings, have received many awards from their training agency where they go, the Vermont Police Canine Association, and so we're real fortunate with that. At the Canine Awareness Day every year, when we do it, we have multiple teams from Vermont that come and join us, and these are teams that we actually train with. And we also have other teams from New Hampshire come, including state police teams and things like that. So it makes it a neat event and a good opportunity to really see police dogs at their best and doing what they do. And it's a great opportunity for people to get to meet these dogs. So we look forward to it again every year, and this year is no exception.
That's great. I know that's going to be a really kind of it's a festival kind of day. I know that I will be there with my canine unit, Olive, the English Bulldog that Kurt remarked of, and then my Barker, Finley, the Retriever. I'm not bringing the poodle though. The 5-pound poodle is staying home. She's just too annoying. So I think that's really a neat, to celebrate there's many successes to celebrate that. I mean, I know the city clerk's going to show up there, and the top dog contest, and another Kurt, once again, West Lebanon has brought to bear their support for something that is fun in the community, and it's got a lot of interest. The top dog contest, and there'll be the top dog persons chosen, and their dog will be there, and they'll present that. I think the mayor will be there to present. I know Georgia Tuttle will be there ceremonially to present, and then I think the city clerk is also providing things there actually where the people can get licensing, and some other things will be there for people.
Prizes.
Yeah, it's kind of neat.
It's a great event.
And the top dog receives a year's supply of pet food.
Yeah,
and
it's
there's all sorts of prizes there.
Quite a thing.
We had about right around 3,000 people that attended the event.
And I think that hopefully we'll have some more. We'll report back on that. I know we're going to be shooting a promo on it, so that's kind of neat. We want to, these are kind of things that are really neat events. They're really, and we hope to have more and more of these type of events in different ways to illustrate how great the community has capacity to do things, important things, and fun things, and yet meaningful things. So it's kind of nice. And they're going to be doing some actual demonstration, as I recall, that our officers will be running their dogs, and they'll be showing different maneuvers that they do.
Different obedience and everything from handler protection to obedience to. We'll be seeing them doing some of the big jumps and the obstacle course work. They do drug work, and even this year we're going to try to add some tracking and some article searches, which is really valuable, especially like me when I was training with the dogs one day. I lost my keys in tall grass. They came along and found the keys for me. So.
And one of the things too, I'll just interject, is that we have, it's also a fundraiser for the Vermont Police Canine Association, which helps pay for some of the supplies that some of the different departments use, and also raising money for Lacey's Fund. And Lacey's Fund is an organization that helps pay for supplies and care of retired dogs. And since Lebanon has a dog that's retiring, it's a great opportunity to show your support for that canine that served us so well.
And if so, those who see this show perhaps after it's already taken place, will there still be opportunity if they want to contribute to any of these kind of worthy efforts?
Absolutely, and they can show their support through, we have these bands, and we have some left over. Their support, I support the police canine unit, and it has a pause on it, and it talks about Canine Awareness Day. So for $3 each, all the proceeds go to them. 2 for $5, and we have some left over. So we.
Oh wow! See, this is another way I'll be able to give. As we close here in our last few seconds, is there anything that you'd like to, Tim and Kurt? First, Tim, would you anything you'd like to leave the public with in terms of something they should be thinking about or think of with regard to our activities in K9?
Well, I think the biggest thing is we certainly appreciate their support. We certainly, the community has always shown such great support for our K9 program, and we're very fortunate for that, and we sincerely appreciate it. And we ask them to just continue that support and shake a paw once in a while when they see our teams.
Absolutely. Kurt, from your perspective?
I think it's a great opportunity to come out and show support, definitely for the police department and the K9s, but also show support for the community. It's an event that brings people together. It's a fun time. We encourage people to talk to people, the businesses that they deal with, to have events similar to that, or events that also foster that community growth and celebration that we all would like to see here.
Great, great. Well, as we close the meeting, our meeting today and our visit, just want to give kudos to the Lebanon Feed and Supply Store, to Kurt and his wife and all the staff members there that pull together and help us every day and be part of the community. And kudos to Tim, and kudos to all our dog officers in our K9 units. I had Officer Max on last year as my guest, and he certainly impressed me, and I would not want to mess with Officer Max. With that, thanks again, and we hope you all think of K9s and support us in terms of the K9 operations.